Boxes to build. It didn't come from very far, but it will be very interesting. Welcome back to the Golf Shop. Jim McCleary, and we are back in the build room. We'll call it that from now on. The build room. Well, it can't be the build room because it's the repair room too. Back in the Golf Shop, right? Dan from Columbus has brought down a plethora of components for us to use. And it is going to be a player's build. Why? Because it's a Callaway and a Project X build, all right? It is the Callaway Musclebacks. The Callaway Musclebacks. And the Callaway Musclebacks for this particular build will be from the 4-iron to the A wedge. Now, let's talk about that. How often do you get to see an A wedge in a muscleback design? That's pretty impressive, I have to say. And they're left-handed. So we're going to have a little bit of a ball with that one, right? So we've got 4 through the A wedge. They're going to be standard loft lie angles, so I'm told, and we're putting Project X 5.5s in them. So we're going to start with is the shafts, right? The Project X shaft. Now, why am I hesitant about this shaft? It's 5.5. What does 5.5 mean? Well, that seems to vary from model year to model year in spans of model years, meaning that when Project X first came out, it was a satin finish, very well done by the Rifle Group. Then it got bought by True Temper. True Temper went to make it their own way and made it in chrome. Okay, chrome. The chrome model was poop, and it wasn't very good. And the guys at True Temper had a steep learning curve. Now, I will say, since that time frame, it's gone to satin finish again, and the quality is way better. Okay, so they're right back to it. However, you know what their Project X was a precision rifle product, and you can tell this is rifle, right there, rifle and precision. So we know it's just this side of the sale. In the day, depending on who you were talking to, 5.0 was stiff, 6.0 was extra stiff, and so on, right? And Rifle worked with numbers. At one point, True Temper moved everything to the right one, where stiff was a 6.0, 7, and always. So these numbers are floating around. But you can assume that right around 5.5, if you're looking for a stiff club, it'll probably play stiff. So that's one of the things we got to look at. Now, these are a taper tip shaft, right? And they're going into a taper tipped head, and I've only got one of each. So frequency matching's out the door. You get what you get on this one. But we will see what it is in order to tell Dan what it's going to be. Callaway MB. Callaway MB, there's always something about the blade. The blade is always, it's the standard issue mark of excellence for guys that can play golf, right? Everybody, you can play a blade as long as you can strike it and you get it out there. And that's because the sweet spot on this thing is extraordinarily small. Now, and you needed to be a precision ball striker in order to hit these things. Now that with CAD and computers and experience and all that stuff, you can make blades a little bit more forgiving. Otherwise, there'd only be one style, right? And it'd look very similar to that. Maybe instead of a cavity right here, there would be more muscle. The blade could be smaller. A blade could be longer, right? It could be, there just could be a lot of things. Every company that makes a blade, if you put them together, they have a similar look, obviously, because it's a blade and there's not a whole lot of style that you can throw into them. However, they all put their own little thumbprint on the way that these guys look. Now, they will be weak in comparison because normally this is for a player that can swing pretty hard, right? Or pretty fast. Let's say pretty fast. And that way you don't need a whole lot of that strengthening of the loft. Now, I used to hear, well, the guys used to hit it so high that we had to jack the loft on them 2 degrees in order to keep the ball down. Whatever. What they were doing is they were jacking the loft so they could get the ball further. Don't let anybody kid you. So what do we got to do when we do this build, right? So these are all parts bought off of eBay, basically. So I got no trust in any of it, none. So what do? First we go and we weigh it all, right? We're weighing the shafts, we weigh the heads, and we try and get that 7 gram split between the heads, and we try and get them as close as we possibly can on the shafts. Now if you're watching this, you're going to see somewhere around the 7 or 8 iron, it jumps way high and then it comes right back into it. If it wasn't for that one, all those shafts would be very, very close in their gram weight, so that would be very, very good. I expect that one that was high to be more stiff. Now in the club, in the heads, they were pretty good. I think they were just a tad light, but in this instance it's not going to be a big deal. It's only, we're talking a gram or two. And we did that, so that was a good thing. Now what we have to do is we have to inspect this stuff. The shafts look to be pretty good, however the heads did not. What do I mean by that? Well, in order for the epoxy to take hold, we also have to abrade the tip, but we have to make sure that the hosel area is clean. More dirt means more things to break away, less adhesion. So what I did was I started looking into them and trying to run my hosel brush in there, and I wasn't getting very much traction. So I started putting in the drill bit. When the drill bit went in there, stuff started flying, right? Stuff started flying. And hopefully, as you're seeing, that it was creating a pretty good sized mess. There's a whole lot there. Now, that's just to get down to the bottom of the hosel. Then you got to clean it out, and then you got to go back, and we had to reweigh it. And so what did we find? Well, in some cases the glue was only worth maybe a couple of tenths of a gram, and in one case it was worth 1 gram. Now what I did find while I was doing it, I also found a tip weight in one. And in order to get rid of the tip weight, we apply some heat, and then we use the awl to scrape it around to try and loosen it up, right? And when we did that, a bunch of junk came out of it, and I thought, wow, we're going to get it. Normally you just tap it out and it falls out. After 2 or 3 tries of this, that did not work, and that's what we're looking at right now. What did I have to do? Well, brass is a very, very soft metal, so I just went and got a very, very small drill bit, and I pushed in until I caught it, and then I just pulled it back out, and then I took it apart, and voila, drill it out, clean it out, we're good to go. Now, as one extra part to this, you know, chrome is a very, very, very durable finish, right? And these have had some wear. They have some wear on the back, not necessarily the front. The front looks pretty clean where the grooves are, right? This has a lot of striations in the chrome. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to see if I could polish them out. So you clean them all off, make sure there's no dirt because you don't want to scratch it up real bad. I put new polish up onto my wheel, and then I started polishing with the grain and on the sole, on the cap, or on the muscle, and then on the fin, and then on the hosel, and then against it. Against it does some really good polishing technique, and we're trying to find what works best here. And once I checked and saw what I was getting, all I had to do was go against the grain, and I knew I was going to get a good product, and that's what I did through the whole set. Now I did try one where I put it on my stitched sisal wheel with some black rouge to see if it would, you know, polish out any better, and it didn't. So it didn't have to go any further there. So I finished up all that, and now we're ready to go. So now we have all the parts put back together, or we have all the parts. So now we have all the parts ready to go. We have the weights, and we have the cleaning. Now we got to go back to the shafts, and we have to go find the spines. And we find the spines because we want a consistent golf club. Is it going to make it perform better? That's about a 50-50 split depending on who you talk to. But it makes it consistent. So we are going to put it into my homemade spine finder, and we're going to see just how hard the spines are. Now if you're when we put them in here, we pull down on using another ball bearing, and these things are flipping. So they are extraordinarily hard spines, which means that out of alignment, if somebody had enough feel, they could probably sense this because they were that hard. So now we have them to that point. So now what we have to, now we're up to is the assembly phase. Now we're into the assembly of them. We're going to put the spine at 12 o'clock. We're going to make sure that they flow correctly, and then we're going to glue them. And we're going to glue them using a white ferrule. Now, these things have a collar in them. See that collar right in there? There you go. They have a collar in them. If I was going to build with a graphite shaft, there would be no doubt I would use a collar, right? We're going to use these steel shafts that are pretty doggone hard. So what I'm going to do, I would prefer to use a collar, but he liked the white, so we're going to use the white. It's just a preference at that point. But you guys have to measure the pro versus the con in a lot of these things. If you think that this guy's going to be a ground pounder and he's going to take a lot of abuse, even with a steel shaft, I would still go with a collared ferrule. If he's a sweeper, that kind of thing, then on steel probably not. On graphite I still would, because I don't like shear points. All right, so I'm going to abrade the tips, we're going to flow them, and then we're going to glue them. And so you've seen all that. If you want to go up here and look at that, or wherever, which way, I'm going to go this way. If you want to, let's try that one. Anyway, well, there's some build videos that you can check out while I'm gluing. And then we'll come back to it. All right, so we got the day 2 in, and we are finishing up the clubs. Now, I just got back from a round of golf and figured out why they called it golf. The one club that never works was working, and the one club that always works wasn't, so go figure. However, what we did get to work were the Callaway MBs, right? The Callaway MBs with our Project X 5.5s, and something new, a cross comfort grip by Superstroke, mid-size. I had to look up Dan's specs, and I found him. He's a 1/2 inch long, couple degrees flat. So I did some specking out, and they actually came out very, very nice. The clubs came out very nice for stuff that was bought on eBay and put together. The Project X didn't really fail as I thought. It is very stiff, like we thought it would be. However, the swing weights came out within only one was really, or 2 were already out by 1 swing weight point. The total weights were in line. The grips look good, and so all we had to do is we had to slide on these new grips, and then we went over and we put them on the loft and line machine, and then we had to adjust them. He wanted a little bit strong, so what I did was I went and used the new MB parameters and used that, and then bent the lie angles to the 2-degree flat like he was looking for. And then we did a cleanup, and now what you see is a brand new set of MBs left-handed for Dan in Columbus area. And the only thing left to do is give a few a swat. All right, we're in my fitting bay now, and you get to see my new projector set up to an extent, and I'm hitting the Callaway MBs that are a little bit flat, a little bit long, a little bit heavy, just to get an idea of what they're going to feel like. Why not? I mean, they're nice clubs. Let's figure out what they feel like. Ooh, I like them. They feel pretty good. That was a bit of a pull, but I'll take it all day. 150 for a 9-iron with this stuff? Yeah. $140, but a little bit of a pull, but I'm finding the middle, they're not as abusive as I thought they would be, but I can imagine you get off center with these bad boys and it's over. All right, let's check another one out. All right, we're going to give this one a ride with 3 different golf balls. This is the 7-iron. I do like the Superstroke grip. It's a little softer. I don't think this is a production model anymore, but it's firm with being soft. Does that make sense? That was a little bit off center, it felt like, but it still worked. Not bad, not bad at all. That one felt hit. There we go. Dan, you better keep up with this, buddy. Dan can hit a ball pretty good. So hopefully we're putting some good karma into it. And that one was the heavy one. All right, let's go one more. All right, what we have is the dreaded 5-iron. I don't know how many of you guys actually hit this. I carry it in the bag, but based on my length, I normally don't have to play it. So I have to practice it a little bit. So we're gonna have to see how this one works out. This is where I think my eye teeth are gonna ring. $200 yards down the road, 198. I'd take that. There's a roller. I need to see if we can get up in the air a little bit more. Like that one. That was a great ball right there. Man, these are nice clubs, dude. Right down the pipe on that one. Look at that, me being able to golf on TV. There's the heavy one. That's the one that pays. That's the deal with the blades. I just went from 198 to 167, all because of a poorly struck shot. And that was a little heavy, probably a little bit into the heel, that kind of thing. But I came back like a champ, 195 to 2 and some change. So, not bad. So it's not too often that I get to be able to test some of the clubs that I build. But it's also a good reaction for you guys to be able to understand some of the things that go into the build process. You know, we didn't talk about flex because I just couldn't do anything with it. But getting the spine and flow, getting the loft and the lies, getting the right length, and all that was from a fitting that we did, well, not too long ago with Dan. He's just trying something new, which is grand. And we're putting him into, this is a quality set, Project X with the Callaway MBs. It's a year older model, right? I like the grips. They're very, very solid. They do a very, very good job. And as you can see, they're hitting, well, I'm able to get through it. Now, for some reason, I can hit clubs that have very, very small soles on them. And as you can see, I can also chunk them as good as anybody else. So there it is. That's ball striking 101. And that's the difference between blade versus cavity vac versus player's cavity. All these other things, all those categories that are out there. In order to find out what's right for you. In order to find out what's right for you, go to a fitting. Go to a fitting with a certified person and you won't regret it. I am sure that you will not. That way at least you know what you need to go find. Whether you decide to get it with that fitter or not, that's irrelevant. At least you know what you need. So hopefully you learned a little something, guys. If you're looking for an apron that you'd like to keep stuff off of you, much like I do, we have the McGolf aprons right here, large and extra large. And send us an email at mcgolfshop@roadrunner.com and we'll take care of you. And as always, guys, let's see your scores go low.